No, I want to finish it now. I want to finish one more point in Lecha, and then we're going to Vayeira. Okay, so on page 72, it says like this, 6 lines from the top. We're going to try to start Vayeira today also. Vayehi Avram ben Tishim Shana v'Teisha Shanim. Avram is 99 years old. Vayeira Hashem el Avram vayomer elav ani kel shakai hisalech lefanai veheyei samim. Go before me and be perfect. And this is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to tell Avram Avinu about the mitzvah of bris milah. And page 72, Perek Yud Zayin Pasuk Aleph. This is the whole section here is about bris milah. And the idea of bris milah, first of all, is a fundamental. It's such a fundamental that Jews, even far removed from Judaism, it's one thing that it's non-negotiable. You know, it's very rare to find Jews who don't do a kosher bris milah. Bris milah has to be done on the 8th day. It has to be done by a proper moil, and it's on the 8th day. If a bris was done before the 8th day, or like nowadays, even non-Jews circumcised in the hospital. The non-Jewish world has run back. It goes back and forth with whether or not it's healthy. It's healthier to have the circumcision or not. Even the royal family was circumcised. The royal family was circumcised, and if I'm not mistaken, they used an Orthodox Jewish mohel because they felt that he's the one who's most qualified because he knows how to do it. Until she, what do you call it, the one who got killed? What's her name? Diana. Diana's kid, if I'm not mistaken, Diana's kids did not circumcise. So she didn't like it, if I'm not mistaken. But the royal family did. What's remarkable is who's the one No, the oldest son of Charles is who? Was that William or Harry? The oldest son of Charles. The next one in line to be the king. William. Okay, now William is married to Kate. Right? William's married to Kate. Kate Middleton. Now, Kate's mother, her maiden name is something, something sounds like Rosenblum or, one of those very. So there is some question. There is some. It's unclear. It is possible. I'm not making any. It's possible. I don't remember what her mother's maiden name is. Father's not Jewish, but the mother may be Jewish. Which means that if her mother is Jewish, that means she's Jewish, and if she's Jewish, that means that that William's son, who is the third in line for the crown of England, to be the head of the Protestant church, the King of England is the head of the Protestant church, is actually Jewish. Now, I don't know for a fact. There is speculations. I don't know what the conclusion is on it. But so bris milah is given to Avram Avinu. There's several remarkable ideas here why it's so fundamental. The first thing is the symbolism of bris milah. For one thing, is that the number 8. First of all, the baby is a mohel before anything. A mohel is well trained. He's professional. They're good at what they do. If there's any health risk to the baby at all, they do not do a bris. If the baby has either got a fever, or if the baby has any sort of infection, they do not. The bris is postponed till the baby's completely healthy. There have been brises where the tables are set and the guests are there, and the mohel takes one look at the baby and he says, "I can't do a bris." The baby has an eye infection, which is not uncommon. They get these little eye infections, and the bris is off. There's no bris that day. Then they have to do the bris as soon as possible after the baby becomes healthy. And bris also is a elective surgery, which takes precedence over Shabbos. So you do a bris on Shabbos, only if it's the 8th day. Once the bris is put off, you do not do a bris on Shabbos. I've been at brises on Yom Kippur. My own son had a bris on Rosh Hashanah. My grandson, not this Rosh Hashanah, previous Rosh Hashanah, we had a Rosh Hashanah bris for our grandson. So bris takes place. There was actually an incident here in Israel. Have you heard of the Hechsher? Rav Mahbud, the Mahbud Hechsher. Yeah. So Rav Mahbud himself is an expert mohel, and there was some sort of family, I don't remember all the circumstances, but there was a traffic jam. The family, and it was getting late. The family was on their way to the bris. It was getting late. Rav Mahbud happened to be around in the vicinity, and he came over, and in the car, It was right before Shkia. On the 8th day, you got to do the bris. That's why we do the bris as early in the morning as possible. But you could do it till Shkia. You have to do it on the 8th day. And a few minutes before Shkia, Rav Mach would happen to be around there, and they couldn't get to where they were. And in the car, in traffic, in the middle of Tel Aviv somewhere, Rav Mach did a bris for the baby. So the brises are done. Yeah, brises are done with what do you call it? People did brises in the Holocaust on babies, in the concentration camps. The Jews have been moser nefesh for the mitzvah of bris milah. It's very, very important. So a person who has not had a bris, if it's an adult who has not had a bris, now a person who has not had a bris, if they start again. A person who has not had a bris, so if he's an adult, this was not uncommon with the Russians when they first let the Russian Jews out. Many of them didn't have any bris at all. So then as adults, they have to have a bris, and that requires a full anesthesia, or at least a local anesthesia. For somebody who's had a bris and it wasn't a valid bris, somebody's had a bris, but it wasn't a valid bris because the mohel was not shomer Shabbos or was done in the hospital before the 8th day. So then they have to do what's called hatafas dam bris, where they poke a little bit and then you let out a certain amount of blood. That often happens with converts as well. Somebody wants to convert to Judaism, so he has to have bris milah and tefillah. And if he's already had a circumcision, so then they do what's called hatafas dam bris. They let out. By the way, there are babies that are born circumcised already. It's rare, and sometimes it's not full. It requires an expert mohel for that, because there are all sorts of issues. But that's what's done for it. What were you going to ask me?
There's like in certain a few years ago there was like these players that they used to use like some sort of another way to do the bris, which was allowed for a while, and then it was again not allowed, and what's the concern?
I don't know the issue. The main issue that I've heard. First of all, they use a shield.
Yeah.
Now you're talking to somebody who will not watch a bris. I will not watch it. I'm usually the farthest one in the room when the bris is taking place. And those rare occasions, I told the guys in my share, those rare occasions where I've been to Sandik, my eyes are closed from the moment the baby is put in my lap until I'm 100% certain that he's got a diaper on. Right? I'm not interested in seeing, I'm not interested in knowing, I'm not interested in anything. I get nervous just when the mohel comes in, he puts out the equipment, he lays it out, I get nervous just looking at that. So I'm not, I'm not the guy to ask about any of the nitty gritty here. But so that's the general, and it's a simcha. Now, one of the ideas here is that the baby achieves his perfection as a Jew through some pain. Now, ironically, in the Israeli army, somebody who's had a circumcision, the highest, you can open it up again. Somebody who's had a circumcision, could we open that window over there, the one right above you? Open it. Somebody who's had a circumcision can only get a 97. They lose 3 points on their profile in the Israeli army. And the Torah perspective is to the contrary. Until you've had a circumcision, you're not perfect. He says, Avraham Avinu, you've got some excess baggage there. It's got to be removed. Then you'll be perfect. So in the Israeli army, only Druze Christians who serve in the Israeli army could actually get 100% because they don't circumcise. But anybody who circumcises automatically loses 3 points, and that's not a Torah perspective. Number one. Number two, the idea of the perfection comes through pain. And that's a message for everybody who's at the bris. The baby only knows that up until this point, life has been a breeze, and all of a sudden the baby goes through this. And now it's a minimal amount of pain because the nerve endings are not developed in that area as like they would be in an adult. Number one, I've been in brises where the baby just gives a little. The mohel is so fast and efficient. He just gives. I'm getting nervous. I see I'm moving my finger. Just think about it, that I'm already moving my finger. But the mohel, it's so fast and efficient that the baby cries a little bit, and as soon as he's finished and wraps him up, the baby's okay. Puts a little bit of, what do you call it? He nurses, he's okay. However, the perfection does come through some pain, and that's a reminder to us that our perfection as a person may involve a certain amount of sacrifice. That a Jew has to know that there may be ordeals in life, and any ordeals are part of part of the perfection of being a Jew. That's one of the messages of the Milah. Now, if you want to you could go to the Israel Museum And you could, if you're into this sort of thing, so any museum, any Jewish museum, you'll always be able to see bris milah knives from the 17th century or something. They always have bris milah knives on display, and what kind of shields they used to use and that sort of thing. Right? No, none of which interests me at all. All I know is when I see a bris milah knife from the 17th century means there was a baby and there was crying and there was pain. That's all it means to me. My wife and I actually, when we first got married, we went to I told the guys, we went to the Israel Museum. Israel Museum is it's 3 stories, the Israel Museum. We did the Israel Museum in 45 minutes. Like 15 minutes a floor. Right, because there are just so many bris milah knives and old mezuzahs and models of shuls from the shtetl that I could look at, and then let's get out here and get a falafel, so we did that pretty fast. But the issue that did come up is what's called mitzitza b'peh. Now mitzitza b'peh means that after the milah, the moil has to promote a blood flow. And he does it with his mouth. He draws blood promotes a blood flow. It's called mitzitza, sucking it out b'peh, with his mouth. Now, the reason that it's done, and it's not it has to be done, is in order to promote the blood flow. If there's no blood flow, it could create an infection. So there is a health concern here. Now, the tradition is mitzitza b'peh. There is a sort of device, some sort of tube that moles will use if the baby's genealogy may be in question. If it's a girl from a college campus and she had a baby, she's a Jewish girl who had a baby, and the father may be one of any one of 4 people, and we don't know exactly what the blood's in the blood, so then there's going to be a little bit of a concern. But somebody who's 7th generation from Bnei Brak, and there's no concern. So then there is this mitzitza b'peh, which has to be done. The mitzitza has to be done, and it has to be done mitzitza b'peh. Those are the rules. You could speak to somebody else about it. I get queasy just thinking about it. But at the end of the day, that's as far as Now, the other thing is that on the 8th day, there's a vitamin in the body, if I'm not mistaken, it's vitamin K, which is responsible for clotting. And that vitamin reaches its highest levels on the 8th day. So that's one of those ironies, that somehow they knew about this. Hashem, who created us, somehow knew about this, right? So the circumcision is done on the 8th day. That's as far as the practical. Now, there's another idea here. The number 8, everybody knows that the number 8 number 8 represents the dimension that transcends nature, right? That we all know about. 7 days is the natural world. Number 8 is Lamala min hateva, beyond that. That's the idea of Hanukkah is 8 days, celebrating the miracle, which is beyond nature. The number 8 always means it's beyond nature. Now, I want to ask you a question. I don't know if you guys are sports fans or not. If you're not, you should be. But whichever country you're from, right? Whether you're from America or from England or from anywhere else, every country has a sport that involves a tournament of some sort. Like, let's say you have the NCAA basketball tournament in America, or you have the World Cup in Europe, that sort of thing. Now, I want to make a bet with you. Okay, it's a World Cup. I'll pick one team, and you could have if any team other than mine wins, you get all the other teams. Now that's the offer, but you could pick one team or have all the other teams. What would you take?
All the other teams.
All the other teams, especially in a sport where it's unpredictable. Right? The World Cup, only my team happened to win this year, Argentina. But that was only, that was just, if you try to pick a winner in the NCAA tournament, it's unpredictable. Even in professionals, in baseball, you got a bunch of wild cards play. It's unpredictable. The only time it was predictable was when Michael Jordan was playing. Right, when Michael Jordan was playing, so I'll take the Bulls, you could have the field, because that was pretty much a given. And when Tiger Woods was golfing, I'll take Tiger Woods, you could have the field at his peak. Other than that, you're always better off taking the field. Now, imagine you're Avram Avinu. And you're shown a prophetic vision of what's going to unfold in history. It's going to be the Jewish people against the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Crusades, the Inquisition, the Holocaust, Yishmael in our day and age. You're shown that what the Jews have to overcome. Now, what are the chances? Who would you bet on, the Jews or the field?
The Jews.
What would you bet on if you were Avraham Avinu before being shown? You're shown a prophetic vision of you don't know the results. You're just being shown these are going to be the opponents. Who would you bet on? If you had to bet the Jews versus the field without knowing the results, who would you bet on? Of course you take the field. Every single one in the field is better than the Jews. Certainly in war, they're better than the Jews. So what HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows, what's that?
We're the nation of books.
We're the nation, our books against their sword. I got news for you. It's not a great bet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avraham Avinu, the survival of the Jewish people by natural law doesn't work. Doesn't work. Natural law, we should have disappeared a long time ago. Bris Milah on the 8th day, Bris Milah obviously being performed on the organ of reproduction, which is a symbol of future generations. He's telling Avram Avinu, the survival of the Jewish people, of your offspring, is going to be l'mala min hateva. It's going to be beyond natural law. Our survival is not by natural law. Our survival is beyond natural law. It's beyond natural law. So the Bris Milah represents that by letter of the law, by natural law, what happens is exactly what happened in the Holocaust. The Holocaust says, German Jewry told Hashem, we're not interested in having you around. Well, if you have one sheep surrounded by 70 wolves, and the shepherd leaves, what's going to happen to the sheep? The sheep's going to get ripped to shreds, which is exactly what happened in the Holocaust. Say, God, you get out of the picture. Are you sure you want me out of the picture? Yeah. People ask, how could the Holocaust have happened? That's the wrong question, gentlemen. The question is, how could the Holocaust not have happened? How come more Holocausts don't happen? By logic, that's what should happen if you got 70 nations who hate you. So then they're going to rip you to shreds. So why isn't it happening? Why doesn't it happen? Only because the shepherd is there to protect you. The Bris Milah, the 8th day, represents that the shepherd is there to protect, that the Jewish people will survive l'mala min hateva. I mean, if you stop and think about it, just stop and think about this, gentlemen. They shot in missiles. They've been shooting missiles. They've had about, I think, 8,000 missiles have been fired at Israel. So a couple of days ago, one missile got through the Iron Dome protection. It hit an empty building. The other, half of them end up in Gaza. Anyway, half of them fall in Gaza. And half of them, the one they make through, they let them through because they fall in open fields. One of them got through the protection and hit a population there. It hit an empty building. Another one got through and it injured a foreign worker who wasn't Jewish. Sometimes, I was here in the Gulf War. They shot 39 Scud missiles, right? No, not one. One guy was killed because the door fell on him. He was in a room, a door fell on him. He was in it hit the thing, and then a metal door fell on him. This happened to be a guy who used to ride his motorcycle around Bnei Brak on Shabbos to provoke the Shabbos observant people. So he ended up getting killed. I'm just telling you facts. I'm not making any claims. I'm just telling you facts. You draw your own conclusions. But over here you have a situation. And they showed you buildings. And I remember in the Gulf War, they hit buildings. And the buildings were, and then also next thing you know, the door opens and 6 people come walking out of the building without a scratch. I mean, it's l'mala min hateva. It's clearly l'mala. It's clearly beyond natural law. That's what the Bris Milah means. Bris Milah is, now number 3 is that the Bris Milah represents the unlocking of creative potential. That means the ultimate act of creativity is to produce children. That's when we come closest to God, is by actually producing children. He produced human beings and we produce human beings. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's the ultimate act of production. So the Bris Milah, which is covered by the foreskin, removing the foreskin is symbolically unlocking the creative potential, which is a message to all Jews that our role in life is to make use of our creative potential. I think we have to turn on the air. Our role in life, our goal in life, and our job in life is to try to do whatever we can to unlock the creative potential. Each person creating obviously in creative potential, meaning in a productive way in Torah and mitzvahs to make the most of ourselves that we can, and obviously to make the most of our children that we can. All right? Now, let's go on to Parsha's Vayeira. So Avram Avinu has had the circumcision, and it's the third day, and he's in pain. And so the Torah says that Vayeira lov Hashem be'elonei mamre, v'hu yoshev pesach ha'ol kechom hayom. It's hot, and he's sitting by the entrance. Why is he sitting by? He's looking for guests. He's in pain, thinking about the pain he's in. Excuse me, he's had a bris milah. It's the third day, and the Chazal say the third day is the most painful day. By the way, with babies, I've noticed it's not, most babies, the first night, the baby's a little restless. The first night you kind of rock the baby, he gets up and he nurses and you rock him, and by the second day they're okay. They're what do you call it? They don't seem to. Any of my boys and any of my grandchildren, by the second day they're already okay. But the Gemara says that the third day is the most potentially bad. That's why they went in on Shimon and Levi when they killed the people of Shechem. So they had them circumcised, and then they went in on the third day when they're the weakest. So it could be that that's specifically for an adult. I don't know. But I've noticed that with the babies generally it's the first night. First night, you rock the baby, or your wife rocks the baby, and then they take care of the baby, and then they're basically okay. All right. Now Avram is looking for guests. Vayisa ena vayar v'hinei shlosha anoshim nitzavim olav vayar v'yaros likar lepeso v'yishtach. He runs out to these guests. He sees these three wayfarers. So there's an interesting medrash. The medrash says that he first sent out Eliezer to look for the guests, his servant Eliezer. And Eliezer came back and said, no guests, I didn't find any guests, boss. So Avraham Avinu said, you can't rely on a servant. Right? You can't rely on the servant. And then he goes out and he finds them. That's what the medrash says. What's the message here? Eliezer goes out and he doesn't find them. Avraham Avinu goes out, immediately he finds them. And he says, I can't rely on you. And he goes out. So what's really happening? Let me ask you a question. Did it ever happen to you? Did your mother ever send you upstairs to get the towel, to get a red towel? And you go, I can't find it. Did it ever happen? And she comes walking right past you, and there it is right in front of your nose. Never happened to you? Right? You didn't find it. You couldn't find it. Right? My mother said whenever I vacuum cleaned on those rare occasions, my mother always said, men somehow don't see crumbs on the floor. I'd vacuum clean, and it was, I must have set some sort of world record for speed, and she, you missed the thing over there. My mother could see a speck of dust from 60 meters away, and by me, the big crumb, and I missed the crumb. Okay, what happened? Why did you see the towel? Then your mother comes walking in, and right in front of you, it's right in front of your face. Now, what if your mother would have said, by the way, there's a red towel upstairs, and there's a $20 bill in it, which you get to keep? Do you think you'd find the towel then? I'd bet you that $20 you would, right? What happened? What's the difference? The difference is ratzon. Did you want to find the guests or not? Eliezer goes out, he's looking for guests. I don't know, how much does he want the guests? I mean, if guests come into the house, he's got more work for him. Is he really interested in finding guests? Torah is teaching you, the Medrash is teaching you that a lot of things in life has to do with what you want to do. Guy says, I can't figure out the Gemara, right? Put $20 on the table, I guarantee he'll at least try to figure out the Gemara. He's going to work on it a lot harder, because all of a sudden you got a motivation, all of a sudden you got the ruts on. And by the way, when you're raising children, one of the things you do is you motivate them with money. You motivate them with prizes. Tell your kid, listen, if you finish the whole Masechta Mishnayos, I'll get you a new bicycle. Right? Kid's going to learn Mishnayos. And by the way, don't just promise it. This is giving you a tip. Buy the bicycle and put the bicycle in the house. Right? When you buy the bicycle and it's in the house, then the kid's going to learn the Mishnayos. Again, put the bicycle up on a wall, but it's like, okay, we're putting it in the back room. You let me know when you're done with the Mishnayos. Believe me, they're going to. My own grandchildren. The other day, my grandchildren live about 100 meters away from us, up a hill. So I had something was going on in my house, and they had my plastic chair. We have a bunch of plastic chairs. It was by my daughter's house. So my two grandchildren, one of them's 9, one's 8. So I said to the guys, can you bring down the chairs for me? Right? So they came down. Each one brought about 4 plastic chairs. So I said, guys, I'll pay you $1 a chair I need more. I'll pay you a shekel a chair for the ones that you get. You should have seen them scamper out like. First they were just sitting there, kind of like. I said, I'll give you a shekel a chair. They scampered out like scared rabbits. Ran up, and each one carried more chairs than any of you could carry at one time, right? For a second, and I gave them more, by the way. But they what do we call? So it stays in the family. But they what do you call? They all of a sudden there's motivation. There's motivation. He had the rotzon. Now. He goes in and brings guests. I mentioned to you yesterday, we got a whole section here now that's going to go on for 6, 7 psukim over here, describing how Avram Avinu takes care of guests. And yesterday we spoke about the World War, that's one pasuk. Because what's important to us is the chesed that you do with guests. That's a lot more important than how you fight a war. So Avram Avinu says to the guys like this, come on in. And then, now, I want you to watch this carefully. And look at Pasuk Dalet. Yukachna me'at mayim. Let water be taken. That's really what it means, yukachna. V'rachatzu raglechem, wash your feet. V'ishanu tachazeh, to lean down under the tree. Now look at Rashi on Pasuk Dalet. Rashi says over here, it's the left column, yukachna. Left column, 5 lines from the top. Pay attention carefully. Vital lesson. Yukachna al yedei shliach, through an agent. Certain things Avram Avinu did by himself, and certain things he did through an agent. V'HaKadosh Baruch Hu shilem lebanav al yedei shliach. Hashem paid through an agent. Shenamar, it says, Vayeira Moshe es yado vayaches asela. That means, the Gemara says, what Avram Avinu did by himself, Hashem did straight. He brought them bread, so Hashem rained down bread from heaven. He had somebody else bring the water, so Hashem brought the water through an agent. Now, why did he bring it through an agent? So that we find out in Pasuk Zion. Skip down for a second. 4 lines from the bottom. It says, Ve'labakar ratz Avraham, Avram ran to the cattle. Vayikach ben bakar rach v'tov. He took a calf, soft and good, which Chazal say that means he took 3 of them. Vayitein al na'ar, he gave it to the young lad, livayamar lasos, so that he should shecht it and prepare it. Take a look at Pasuk Zion and Rashi. 5 lines from the bottom. El hanar, who did he give it to? Yishmael. Lechancho b'mitzvahs. Why did he have Yishmael do it? To train Yishmael to do the mitzvahs. So Moshe Feinstein says, first of all, the Gemara says, why did he need 3 calves? 3 calves for 3 guests? It's a lot of meat. That's more than you guys could eat at an all-you-can-eat restaurant, right? 3 calves for 3 guests? So what does the Gemara say? He wanted to serve each one of them the best cut of meat, which is tongue. And so, I mean, even 1 tongue should be enough for 3 people. Put out 3 tongues on the table. Each guest gets his own tongue, right? And again, I told you, I don't know if you like tongue or not, but that's what he sends them. He sends them tongue. Okay. So who does he have do it? He has Yishmael do it. Why? Lechancho b'mitzvahs. He's got to be trained to do mitzvahs. So Moshe Feinstein says, who brought the water? Or probably also Yishmael to train him with the mitzvahs. If it wasn't done by Avram Avinu, it's to train him to do mitzvahs. So what's the result? Hashem says, you did it through an agent, then you're going to get the water through an agent. There's an allusion. It sounds like a criticism. Why are you doing it through an agent? You should have done it yourself. What do you mean by do it through? You're supposed to train your kids to do mitzvahs, aren't you? So what did he do wrong over here? What did Avram do wrong? What's wrong? You try to be mechanech your children. Isn't that how you mechanech your children? Says Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, no. That's not how you train children. How do you like that? Now you're going to hear something, gentlemen. It's worth hearing this, and you should pay me for this. Because it's not, by the way, none of this is original. Almost nothing I tell you is original. I plagiarize shamelessly, right? This is all from the Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. That's not how you mechanech kids. You know how you mechanech children? You want to train your children to be good Jews? You know how you do it? By them seeing how you do it. That's how you train them. If a guest knocks at the door, don't say you kid, answer the door. I want to train you. You answer the door with a smile. Then the kid says, that's how you bring guests, that's how you welcome guests into the house. If you have guests in your house, you bring the guests the food. Then the kid says, that's how you train guests. To get a kid to do it, you can get kids to do a lot of things. And you have to have them do what they have to do. That's not hard. But the trick is that if they see you do it, that's how you're mechanech them. They say that you're happy to put on tefillin. You're happy. Father's lying in bed, and he says to his kid, you have to get up and go to minyan. And the father's lying in bed. Right? That's not chinuch. Chinuch, the kid says, great, that is chinuch. When I'm a father, I'll lie in bed and tell my kid to go to minyan. That's what you've tried it. When a father's in shul, schmoozing with his friend and says to his kid, daven. The kid learns, yeah, sure. So now I've learned. When I'm a father, I'll schmooze and tell my kid to daven. That's not chinuch. That's not chinuch. Chinuch is that the kid sees how you do it. 1 second. You know what's really frightening here? Because Avram Avinu did it through an agent, so Hashem did it through an agent. He did it through Moshe Rabbeinu. And what happened? There's a frightening thought. What happened because Moshe Rabbeinu did it? He hit the rock when he was supposed to have spoken. And what happened? You notice that Rashi quotes the second time Moshe Rabbeinu went to the rock. He doesn't quote the first time. The first time was also done through an agent. The first time Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, hit the rock, and he hit the rock. The second time he said, speak to the rock, and he hit the rock. And that's the one that Rashi quotes, that Hashem did it through an agent. Why is he quoting the second time? Why doesn't Rashi quote the first time in Shemos, when they first came out and needed water? And Rashi goes, good question, right? What do you say? It's a good question, isn't it? What do you think Rashi's getting at? What do you think the Torah's getting at over here? What's the Gemara getting at over here? You know what happened because Avram Avinu did do it in the optimum way? It ended up causing Moshe Rabbeinu to be needed as a shliach. Moshe Rabbeinu made a mistake and he hit the rock instead of speaking. Therefore, he didn't go into Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, the Beis HaMikdash wasn't built, and therefore we're still in Golus. Had Moshe Rabbeinu gone into Eretz Yisrael, the Beis HaMikdash would have been built, and we would never be in exile today. Because Hashem would have brought the water, would have given the water by itself. You don't need an agent. So Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock instead of speaking. That was a misstep. He gets penalized, doesn't go into Eretz Yisrael. He dies, doesn't go into Eretz Yisrael. They don't have the ultimate redemption then. And now we've gone through all of history now. Because all of our golus, what's it a result of? A misstep of Avram Avinu, kidei lechancho b'mitzvahs. He was doing the mitzvah. He's serving these guys a meal that fit for kings. But one step in doing this mitzvah was slightly off, and that results in us being in golus. That just shows you the ramifications of a person's actions, what the far-reaching ramifications are. You can do, while you're doing the mitzvah. He wasn't doing it, he was doing a mitzvah. You didn't do it the optimum way. The result, the ripple effect, we're in golus. Frightening thought. And Rav Moshe Feinstein, I get to you 1 second, Mayor. Rav Moshe Feinstein says, that's how you train children. I've seen people, sometimes you see a mother on the street with a kid, and there's a poor man with the thing, and she gives him the money to put into the coin. She gives him the coin to put into the pushka. Ever see that? Parents give the kid the coin to go put into the pushka. Right? To be mechan chol b'mitzvahs. That's not how you're mechanech a kid. That's how you're mechanech a kid. You're mechanech a kid when a guy knocks on your door collecting for a yeshiva. And the father says to the kid, tell him I'm not home. Right. And then the kid goes to the door and says, my father said to say he's not home. That's one type of chinuch. The other type of chinuch is the father says, please come in, I'm glad to see you. And he talks to the guy, gives the guy some food, gives him a drink, writes him out a nice, generous check. Then the kid sees that. That's how you're mechanech a kid. That's how you're mechanech in mitzvahs. You're not mechanech by making the kids do it. I told you, they asked Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky how he taught his kids to make brachos. Rabbi Yaakov wanted to go, Gedolei Ador. How did you teach your kids to make brachos? Rabbi Yaakov says, we didn't teach them to make brachos. I made brachos. My wife made brachos. So the kids made brachos. That's how you teach. Tell a kid, bench. My Jewish mothers are always in charge of the benching. Bench. Shmuley, did you bench? Chaim, did you bench? Yankee, bench. Mommy, I didn't eat bread. That's okay, just bench. Right, bench. Yeah. That's how you're mechanech, kid. Right? Let's see how you bench. Ever watch people bench? So the kid learned that's how you bench. Chaim, did you bench? Didn't bench. Why not? I don't have a smartphone. I know that Uvnei Yerushalayim, the minhag is. So Uvnei Yerushalayim, you ever see that? People they're benching all the time. You want to bench? A mother should say to her kids, guys, I'm not going to be accessible now for 3 minutes because I have to bench. Somebody once said, after you bench, it's a good idea to thank Hashem for the food too. Benching's rough, isn't it? Benching's rough. It never comes at a good time because you just had a meal. Benching's always, I don't want to wash. It's not the washing that bothers us. Are you going to wash? I don't feel like washing. It's not the washing, it's the benching. I don't mind washing, that's to say. It's the benching that bothers me. I heard Rabbi Victor Miller once said, there's a rabbi gets up in his shul. They go to shul that's Mincha and Mariv. So between Mincha and Mariv, the rabbi speaks for 10 minutes, gives a little drasha for 10 minutes. So the rabbi gets up and he starts going, we have to become more devoted to Hashem, and we have to, we have to think about Hashem, we have to bring Hashem into our life, and we have to be good Jews, we have to serve Hashem. So some old man in the back says, come on, forget about Hashem already, let's start davening Mariv. Yeah, so forget about it. It's not Mariv already, So that's how you remember what we're going to ask.
Yeah, we're just saying, considering also the Moshe situation about the agent, the Chinuch to Ishmael, we didn't focus on that. Like there was a mistake on the Chinuch directly to Ishmael.
Well, the truth of the matter is that was, I told you yesterday, that was Sarah Menu's goal. Sarah Menu's goal was to have, according to Rav Hirsch, to have Hagar would have a baby, and she would make chinuch for Yishmael. She would raise Yishmael, and they were mechanech him. He was Avram Avinu's son. He was Avram Avinu's son, and he was mechanech his son, and he was training Yishmael. By the way, that's why Yishmael, they have certain traditions that came from Avram Avinu. Let's say you get in the Bedouins. This is well known by the Bedouins. If you in a Bedouin tent, they will treat you like a king. Make sure you don't insult them. Right? Make sure you don't insult them because they don't take well to insult. And make sure you eat whatever they serve you and they drink the black coffee or whatever they give you, and you do whatever they want. Outside the tent, watch your back, right? But inside the tent, they have a tradition of hospitality. There is a, where did they get that from? They have this tradition. No one criticizes the fact that he was Mechanech Yishmael. Nobody criticized that.
No, but as Rabbi said, that the chinuch was that he should have done it himself.
Yes.
So Ishmael, since he didn't see his father doing it, he was also.
Rav Moshe Feinstein just says it's a flaw. Right. It's a flaw in the chinuch. Obviously, we got to get kids to do something. Sometimes you have to have kids do things, certain things. It's a good thing for them to help, and they get used to their guests are coming. So while you're like, guys, could you bring some chairs? Could you set the table? Do something. You're right. It is, but that's not the main. The main chinuch is what the children see in the home and the parents' attitude. That's the main chinuch. No question about it. And I know from my own kids. And you see that what they saw you do, and you can't fake them out either. You can't fake out kids. What they see you do happily. I told you, my son once came over to me. I was sitting in the house. My wife was chasing the kids around the house, but the kids were young. And I was sitting at the table, and I'm eating supper. I came home to the house late. And I'm eating supper. The kids were getting them to sleep. So I'm sitting there eating supper, and my son at the time, Today's a cheder Rebbe. But at the time he was about 5 years old. He comes over to me. He puts his hand on the table. He's just watching me eat. He's just like this. I'm just kind of like, hi kid, I'm eating. And he just looked at me for a second. Then he goes, Daddy, do you love to eat? So I said, I was like, do we love to eat? We don't love to eat. We eat so we can be strong to serve Hashem. Some pathetic answer like that, do we love to eat? We eat to serve that sort of thing. Okay, and then he immediately, he said, okay, and then he left, and I think he went to hit his sister. He went from the philosophical, he went from the philosophical to the practical very quickly, and and then I remember, because I was sitting at the time, I was just thinking to myself, how come he never came over to me? He never said, Daddy, do you love to learn Mishnayos? Daddy never asked me. Only, Daddy, do you love to eat? And I'll tell you a terrible story. You'll love it. There was a cheder that had a big event with the parents and all the kids on the stage. One of these big cheders. So a big school of cheder. So they're like the graduation or something. So they called the first kid. They called Shmuley. Please tell everybody what's the favorite mitzvah in your home. So he goes, tzitzis. You know, we all have nice tzitzis, and we make our tzitzis, and everybody goes, wow, that's beautiful. And he goes, Yankee, come on, tell everybody, what's the favorite mitzvah in your home? In our home, it's tzedakah. We all have a pushkin, we put money in, we give 10%, everybody, oh, that's beautiful. He goes, Ruvain, tell everybody, what's your favorite mitzvah in your home? He goes, eating chalt. like that. And so, his parents are cringing, and everybody's like, look at. So finally, they mercifully finish the event, and the principal calls over. He says, Ruvain, why did you say that? He goes, why did I say what? He says, why did you say eating chalt? He goes, I don't understand. We come to the Shabbos table. And my father, he leads the Shabbos table, and we talk about the Parsha a little bit. He asks a question, and then the chalt comes out. That's the last I hear from my father, because after that, he's totally into the chalt. So I said, that's the favorite mitzvah. So that's what the kid sees. What do you want? That's what the kid sees. It's 100%. If you can't tell your kids, did your mother ever say to you, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it? Did you ever hear that music from your mother? If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. Then you hear your mother on the phone, or we're talking to one of her friends, and you think to yourself, well, that don't sound nice. That didn't sound too nice. And you're wondering, oh, I can't wait to be an adult. Then I get to say things that right now I'm not allowed to say. The way you train your kids is you tell your kids when a name comes up, and I say, listen, let's not talk about people. Let's not talk about it. If they hear enough, and they know the parents don't talk about people, so the kids understand, they develop. We don't talk about it. Look, nobody's perfect in this area. And the same thing when it comes to inappropriate words. The same thing comes to wearing a yarmulke. I had my own son. My son was about 8, 9 years old. So my wife calls me into the kitchen. She says, what's his name? You maybe talk to him. Plony doesn't want a bench. So I said, why don't you want a bench? She goes, because I want another brownie. Mommy said I can't have another brownie, so I'm not going to bench. So I said to him, so don't bench. I don't care if you bench or not. That's not fair. What's it got benching? Benching is between you and the Rabbanu. So you want to bench? Bench. You don't want to bench? Don't bench. Don't do me a favor. It's between you and Hashem. And I walked out of the kitchen. Guess what he did? He benched. Not only that, I told my sons when they benched, I said, don't say the whole benching. I'd rather, benching. I know I can't go. Don't bench. I said, say the first paragraph. Say one paragraph, but say it properly. Say the first paragraph. Don't do me. Don't go mumbling the words and not saying the words. What are you doing? Who are you trying to impress? Say, I also don't let my kids shackle in shul. A little bit. Don't put on, every time any of my kids who started going like this, don't put on, so cut the theatrics. You want to daven. Don't put on a show for anybody. I'm interested in the show. You want to daven. You want to daven, don't daven. Don't put on cut the entertainment. Right? So if they pay attention, what the kids see from the 5 parents, that's what the kids are going to do. That's the proper chinuch. It's an invaluable lesson, because it's a mistake that many people make. Many people think that telling kids what to do is chinuch. That's not. Obviously, you can control your kids. Kids can't disobey you when they're little. Let's see what happens when they're 15. Let's see what happens when they're teenagers. Then we'll see what happens. Then you better hope you set the right example. At that point, somebody was going to ask something. All right.